welcome back to the Udamia Hello podcast. It's been a minute. This is RJ. We have Andy. We have Mike. We are finally back. I think it's been a couple weeks since we've done a live episode. We almost forgot how to do it, so we will try and see what happens. But
this is how we do it.
Ooh, throwback to an earlier episode or two. I think he's been in 2 episodes so far. We got to get Montel on the show, I feel like. But
I think so.
Thank you to the 0 people who are currently listening. Hopefully that number increases. It's a 9 o'clock on a Wednesday. What else are you doing? I feel like it's either us or Chicago night. Chicago Fire, PD, and whatever the other one is, Med.
Chicago retail store.
It's probably what my wife is watching, which is why we have 0 viewers.
I have to admit it. I was thinking about not joining tonight because I also watch the Chicago shows. But I don't have cable, so I have to wait until Hulu puts them out the next day. But anyways, thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a minute, and we are about to do the top 2000s comedy movies. I don't know about you guys, but in doing the research for top 2000s comedies in comparison to top 90s comedies, I realized I'm a 2000s comedies fan. Probably more than the 90s. This is where Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey has transitioned into Will Ferrell movies, I feel like.
Yeah.
And Ben Stiller.
And Ben Stiller, yeah. So we've got a massive list of 32 very different movies. And so there is bound to be 1 or 2 movies that you love on this list. So again, we hope that you enjoy it. What do you guys think? Is it good to be back?
Your wife
my
is
wife,
here.
My wife is here.
My wife.
My wife.
Nice segue into 2000s comedies. Thanks for that. I was going to say, you weren't too thrilled with the 90s movies, and I thought I was going to be a little bit more into the 90s movies as well. And then we started talking about them. Like, I have to agree with you. I think the 2000s might have had a better list. I think there's some movies on here that might be some head scratchers for some people.
For me too.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about them, and we'll say why they're there. But I think we have a pretty dang good list for 32.
Yeah, when the subject first came up, I was like, I'm not sure I saw any comedy movies in the 2000s. But then when I started doing research, I was like, oh wait, I own half of these movies that are on the bracket. So
you had the biggest list out of all of us. Yes,
I did. I put some oddballs on there too. I put some Japanese ones on there that are well regarded in other communities. I didn't think you guys were going to pick them, but they are pretty funny. So
yeah, you had some on there. Me and RJ were like, what is this movie?
Well, if you're joining us, feel free to comment and to add to the conversation. That's what makes these live episodes so fun. And thank you to all the people that do tune in live and also later on Spotify. We are ahead in episodes being taped. And so this episode will actually not be released on Spotify until mid-March. So enjoy it tonight. But it'll be
if we make it that far.
Yeah.
I have just moved in the past couple weeks. That's why we've been on the down for the last week or so, musically and on the podcast. But we are back at least for another 2 weeks until I have a baby. And that would not be me, but my wife, who's having a baby as well. So feel free to congratulate me. My gift registry is linked below. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I'm excited. Let's get into it. Here we are.
Where's that fancy tourney?
Where's that beautiful tourney?
Oh.
First up, we have Ali G in the house versus me, myself, and Irene.
All right. I'll start off. I'm going with me, myself, and Irene.
Okay.
I'm going with Ali G.
Ooh. Well, I'm going to go with me, myself, and Irene, too. It's Similar Island.
Yes.
So it's this is just going to be Mike being mad about every decision we make tonight.
No, Mike put it on the list, and I saw it was on Hulu or Amazon. I think it was Amazon Prime. So the other night, I was like, let me watch it. I was bored. It was okay. I think there's some content in there that don't age very well.
Most of these movies probably.
But it was one of those movies where at the end I kind of already forgot what I watched.
So I did the same. I Forgetting Sarah Marshall was on at Prime, and I watched it, and I thought it was okay. I love everybody in it. I wanted to like it more than I did, but I didn't. All right, next up, we've got odd pairing. We've got Zoolander versus Jackass the movie.
Jackass all the way.
Man, yeah. Zoolander. Come on, seriously?
Sorry, I'm going with the movie as well.
Oh my God, really?
What is the rest of your notes predicated on Zoolander winning this whole thing?
I have like almost 2 pages of notes on Zoolander. It is by far one of my favorite movies ever, of all time, all genres. It's one of those so classically dumb movies.
Yes,
and but it's so quotable. Like Merman. Like, come on! Oh God, there's a whole scene with I can't even say.
It's not unfunny. I never said it wasn't funny.
It's Jackass is definitely not funnier than Zoolander. I'm sorry. Mugatu, the foam latte.
I have to admit, I hate Zoolander. I generally hate Ben Stiller. So there's not many Ben Stiller movies that you're going to find me voting for.
I just threw up a little bit in my mouth.
I apologize.
Let's move on.
The chat's very quiet.
You have pages of Zoolander notes. Hit us with something.
No, it doesn't matter. They're on the first round. You want notes? Go watch the movie.
I did.
All right. Well, here's another weird one. Superbad versus Freddy Got Fingered.
All right. See, Pete Hutchison.
See,
we should have had you on the damn.
I let Pete down again.
Yep.
I hope I never meet Pete in real life. He'll bite me in the face.
No, not Pete.
He's actually really mean in person. So.
Yeah, good.
I'm just kidding.
Now I know he's lying.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Superbad on this one. I really enjoyed Superbad in the first viewing back in the 2000s. I liked it a lot. Freddy Got Fingered. Tom Green is an amazing, amazing comedian. I love the Tom Green show. I get his humor, so I get Freddy Got Fingered, but Superbad is way funnier for me.
Yeah, even though Freddy Got Fingered was on my list, Superbad all the way.
All right. Well, my vote doesn't count then.
So Mike, why Freddy Got Fingered?
So actually, Superbad was one of those movies for me. Yeah. I tried to show highlights to Kate. She wasn't having it. I
can imagine she would.
We watched like a 12-minute highlight reel. She sat through the whole thing, and then at the end, she goes, "Have I ever told you that Tom Green's like the person that I hate like the most?"
Oh,
and I was like, "Wow, okay."
He had testicular cancer.
I don't know.
No, he did.
But so Superbad, I think I remember watching it when it first came out, but it was one of those movies where it was like, oh, this is one of the funniest movies you'll ever see, and it was like super overhyped, and everybody was talking about it. And by the time I got around to watching it, I was just like, okay. I mean, it was a movie about some kids coming of age, and there was some funny stuff that happened here and there. So when we were talking about it and it was on the bracket, I went back and watched some, YouTube highlights, like funniest moments. And I sat through the whole thing and went, wait, those were the funniest moments?
Oh, no.
That wasn't funny at all.
Oh, man, we're going to have issues here.
Superbad for me was very funny. I mean, first off, Michael Cera is hilarious. Jonah Hill, obviously, is hilarious too, but Michael Cera is one of my favorites. Emma Stone was in this, Seth Rogen, Bill Hader.
Let's not talk about the winner too much.
I know, that's true, but it was I really liked it a lot, so that's why I picked Superbad.
So let's go back to Freddy Got Fingered. So again, yeah. So you want to talk about dumb one-liners? Like that's a movie that has a lot of dumb, like the backwards man, as we were saying before, the backwards man. I can walk back as fast as you can. And then there's some, the cheese sandwich scene, which apparently he got that joke off of something that really happened. But let's talk about maybe why I didn't move on. So this film won 5 Razzies, including Worst Picture, Worst Actor, and Worst Director. Tom Green actually showed up and accepted the award, which is awesome.
Ebert and Roper quoted this movie: "Life is short. Don't spend it watching Freddy got fingered."
Yeah, Roger Ebert also said this movie. This is him quoted. This movie doesn't scrape the bottom of the barrel. This movie isn't the bottom of the barrel. This movie isn't below the bottom of the barrel. This movie doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the same sentence with barrels.
So this movie, to stick it to them, it made $300,000. So it actually made more money than some other movies have made. So $300,000.
Oh my god! So Jerry Stiller and Gene Wilder turned this movie down, and it went to Rip Torn, which, man, like you want to talk about someone who's just as crazy as Tom Green, and he was perfect in this movie. Oh, let's move on.
4.6 out of 10 on IMDb.com.
Hey, that's higher than a lot of movies.
It is.
All right, next up, we have Zombieland versus Super Troopers. This is a tough one for me. I'll vote just because I'll vote for pretty much anything zombie related. Zombieland for me. It's a great movie.
Yeah, this could almost be a coin toss for me. And I love Zombieland. But Super Troopers, when you're talking about just pure comedy, Super Troopers is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Mike. I'm going with Super Troopers.
Okay.
I'm not big into zombies. I liked the movie. I don't really remember like hysterically laughing throughout the movie. Like there were some funny parts, but as opposed to Super Troopers, which has just spots in it throughout the entire movie.
So a lot of the funny parts in Zombieland, you would almost have to be like a zombie movie fan because they were there to sort of break the tropes and really poke fun at all of the stereotypical things you would see in a zombie movie. And then, you had all the fourth wall breaking moments, referencing other zombie, culture, movies, whatever. So that's where a lot of the humor came from. So I can see why you wouldn't like it that much. It's still hilarious. I own a copy. It's on the shelf over here. Certainly better than Zombieland 2, that's for sure.
I still enjoyed Zombieland 2, actually, but
speaking of that and crap sequels, don't watch Zoolander 2. Like if you're a fan of Zoolander and then you go, you know what, I think the sequel is going to be halfway decent, you're wrong. I spent 2 hours of my life that I cannot get back. It was that bad. Yeah.
There's very few comedy sequels that live up to their predecessor. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Next up, we have 40-Year-Old Virgin versus The Ringer.
I feel like this is going to make me even more angry because I'm going with the 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I'm just waiting to hear these responses.
So he already knows that I do not like the 40-Year-Old Virgin. The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville was a movie that I think got a lot of hate before people even started to see it, just because of its nature. But then once you actually saw the movie, anybody who's actually seen the movie, I think it's actually a positive for what it's speaking of, which is the Special Olympics and a number of other things. But I'm a Johnny Knoxville fan. Katherine Heigl's in this as well. And it doubled its money, in the box office, but it only made about 40 million, which is, not amazingly a lot, but I'm going to go with The Ringer.
It's not a lot of money at all. No,
but it only cost 20 million to make it. So it doubled it.
Well, sorry, RJ, because I'm also picking the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I'm not surprised.
Kate and I went to go see that in the theater, laughed hysterically. That movie's super funny.
Yeah.
Don't want to talk about it too much, but just some little tidbits about it. They originally were kind of upset that Steve Carell had lost a bunch of weight for the movie because they didn't want him to be too buff or too fit. But then they were like, oh, wait a minute. Now he's just a regular guy. So now women won't date him just because he's awkward. And that kind of lends itself better to the movie. So.
Well, just to throw out the ringer again, if you haven't seen it or you're afraid to see it because of its controversial subject, the Special Olympics Committee actually agreed to endorse the film, and they actually had the final say on the script as well. So it is a little uncomfortable at times as you're watching it, but realize that there is a message to it. And I actually give credit to Johnny Knoxville for attacking that subject. But
and as I like to get in our wrestling references. Terry Funk was in the movie playing a bookie.
Oh, nice! I don't think I knew that at the time.
Well, then, I mean, he was in Roadhouse too. Terry Funk's been in a lot of stuff.
Roadhouse.
All
right.
That's a Rhode Island reference.
All right. Well, next up, we've got Elf versus National Lampoon's Van Wilder. Elf making a second appearance in our episodes. This also appeared in our top Christmas movies with Andy's wife, Tina, who also was on the show. What do you guys think? Elf or National Lampoon's Van Wilder?
I think I'm going to not vote because I already know I'm going to lose.
All right. I'm going with Elf. Elf all the way.
All right. For me, I think that Van Wilder brought to life Ryan Reynolds for me. Ryan Reynolds became a hilarious comedian, movie actor. Words is what I'm saying. I don't know.
It's a good lexicon.
No, Ryan Reynolds was hilarious in this movie. I don't remember a lot of it now. Elf is a movie that I watch year after year. But Ryan Reynolds was in it, Tara Reid, Cal Penn, bunch of people in it that I really liked. But I'm gonna go with Elf on this too, Andy. So
I knew I was gonna lose this one.
So you would have went with Van Wilder?
I picked Van Wilder.
It deserves to be on the list.
It does.
So I have an issue with Will Ferrell. Not as a person. I've never met him.
You're gonna hate most of this.
I know. I know. But I feel like he's better when he is not acting, when he's just going off the cuff, or even when he was on SNL and sort of improving. I thought he was way funnier when he gets stuck into a part. And I don't know. There's just something about him that I just can't stand. I don't know what it is. But Van Wilder, at that time, I was right out of high school, and those comedies were certainly becoming a big thing. Had Your American Pies a few years earlier, and sort of that whole thing. I feel like this kind of put a little bit of a different spin on that, mostly because it was based on true events. It was actually based on the comedian Bert Kreischer. He spent 6.5 years at Florida State University. So a lot of the stuff in this movie is actually based on him. And most of the script was based off of a Rolling Stone article called The Undergraduate, which was about him. So this movie is actually a comedy about a comedian.
Reminds me of Tommy Boy. A lot of people go to school for 8 years. Yeah, they're called doctors.
What?
All right, guys. Next up, we've got Anger Management versus the School of Rock. Did I spell management wrong? That was
No, that's right.
No, that's
Okay.
right. I mean,
That's right.
there is an error later that I didn't tell you about just because I want to point it out.
All right. Well, I might have fixed it, so we'll see.
Ah, crap.
I might have pointed it out.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Shaun of the Dead.
No, not that one.
Oh, there's another one? Okay. Anger Management versus School of Rock. Unpopular opinion, until Jumanji, did not like Jack Black much. I'm not a huge fan of his, but I'm also not a fan of Adam Sandler. So this is a tough one. But I did like Anger Management, so I'm going to vote Anger Management on this one.
I am voting School of Rock. One, I'm a music fan, huge music fan, and there are a lot of classic rock songs in there. But it's funny. It's just genuinely funny that you've got this lazy, whatever, just trying to make money. So he fakes being his best friend and somehow ends up with a substitute teaching job at some fancy school. I think that's hilarious.
This one was I had to think about this one a little bit because I like both movies, but I am going to go with Anger Management.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Surprised me on that one.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. You know, it's definitely a good movie all around. Jack Black is one of those guys who I do like. I feel like he was awesome in Saving Silverman, which was a movie that I wanted in here, but you've never seen it. Go out of your way to watch it because it's pretty freaking hilarious. Very interesting concept there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much. I mean, I got a lot. I mean, it's funny because I have so much notes on so many things, but I'm just.
Well, we'll get more into them, I think, as we get into the top 16. But I chose Anger Management for just the supporting cast too. I mean, you had Marissa Tomei, Louis Guzman, Woody Harrelson in that. And Jack Nicholson is hilarious in funny movies, so that's why I chose that. But
I feel the opposite. Maybe that's why I didn't. I don't think Jack Nicholson's funny. I don't know what it is.
All right. Well, next up we've got a hard one.
That's what she said.
Well, yeah. Mean Girls versus Anchorman.
This was a tough one. But
funny.
Both are really funny.
Yeah.
But Anchorman's another level. So
yeah. I'm gonna go with Anchorman too. For me,
it's because you were a mean girl in school.
Anchorman is the most quotable movie of my lifetime, probably. It was just a movie that throughout the 2000s everybody was quoting. So there's literally every scene has a quote that you remember. So again, Mean Girls is a great movie, and I think it's a movie I want to go and watch again recently. Rachel McAdams, it's written by Tina Fey, or a screenplay by Tina Fey. Tim Meadows is in it, Amy Poehler. There's so many good people in it. So it's a great movie. Yeah. So
just so you know, great. I'm going to make a compilation video of every time that we talk about a movie that has Rachel McAdams and RJ saying it's got Rachel McAdams in it.
I like Rachel McAdams. There's not a Rachel McAdams movie I don't like.
You're a super fan.
That's why he bought his new house. It has Rachel McAdams in
it. Yeah, it's the same house from The Family Stone.
Somebody was cleaning out his chimney early, and he was like, "Is Rachel McAdams up there?" No, okay.
Mean Girls is one of my all-time favorite movies,
and it stars Rachel McAdams.
It does star Rachel McAdams. Just super funny movie. It on the surface it looks like it's just going to be a chick flick, but it's really not. It's super smart. It's super funny. There are some ridiculous moments in it, but it all takes place in the main character's head. So, it doesn't feel out of context. It all kind of flows very well together. I watch the movie all the time. It's hilarious.
Why are you watching this all the time?
Because it's hilarious. I just said that.
It really is funny. Rachel McAdams was actually 25 in that movie. That's crazy. Like, she's still... That's gonna be the dark match after Pete is RJ breaking down his favorite Rachel McAdams movies. Yeah.
Kate will come on and just talk about how every time she watches The Notebook she cries. So
me too. Maybe we'll have. You know what? That's it. We're doing a Rachel McAdams best movies with
and then
Kate
Ryan Reynolds
on the episode,
and Ryan Reynolds as well. And me and Mike will break down movies. Break down every scene of Freddy got fingered. We'll replay it. Oh my god, we should get the screenplay and like read it back and forth while we play it.
All right, well, moving on, we've got Napoleon Dynamite versus Mr. Deeds.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Yeah.
All the way.
But listen, Mr. Deeds it doesn't get enough credit. There are some really, really funny moments in there. John Turturro's in there as the butler, and he's
very sneaky, sir.
Very sneaky, yeah. And there's a point where Adam Sandler's whole foot is frostbitten and black. It's completely black, and he takes his shoe off. And he's like, oh, he's like super squeamish about it, and he takes chimney flue,
yeah,
and he's like, just hit me with it. And he hits him with it. He's like, no, hit me again. And he keeps hitting him, and he's like, harder, harder, and he just ends up stabbing him in the foot. And I'm saying, and he's freaking out, and he's like, no, I'm just playing with you.
So I don't think it's a very good movie. It's got a 22% approval on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got a Razzie nomination for Worst Actor, Worst Actress, Worst Remake or Sequel. It's got it made money. I'll give it that. But other than that, it does not win a fresh apple from the UW. Hello.
I've watched it so many times. I think it's fun.
I saw it at the drive-in theater, and it was Mr. Deeds and The Sum of All Fears, two totally coinciding movies.
Nice. All right. Next up, we've got Dodgeball versus Borat, which is a tough one. This is a tough one.
This one was, this was super tough.
I'm going to go with Dodgeball on this one. This is one of the Ben Stiller movies that I actually like. It's got my Hey Dude girl on it, Christine Taylor, who is married to Ben Stiller, to my knowledge. Vince Vaughn's in it. Rip Torn, your man, is back. And so Dodgeball, for sure.
It's Borat for me.
Man.
I love Borat. I quote Borat every day.
And by the way, it's Borat, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan.
That's funny because I wrote that down. I was going to make sure that we hit.
I also wrote that down.
Yeah. This was one of the first round ones where I had to think about it.
Before you say anything, Andy.
Yeah.
Borat is included on the list of 1001 movies you must see before you die.
It is.
That's how funny it is.
Yeah. I agree. I'm going with Borat.
Ooh.
Even though Dodgeball, super funny, one-liners in there. If you can't dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. So some wrestling tidbits in here. So at that point, virtually unknown Candice Michelle was one of the Dodgeball cheerleaders. So that's one. But there was a second one. So Troop 417, when they first come in, there's music that plays. And that music was Hardcore Holly, Crash Holly, and Molly Holly's theme music.
Holly.
So, yeah.
Well, it also had Alan Tudyk, our Disney guy.
Love Alan.
Oh, yeah, he did as a pirate.
Yeah,
he was I completely
forgot. And also Patton Oswalt is in it. And then some cameo appearances by Chuck Norris, Lance Armstrong, and David Hasselhoff. So some really good stuff.
This was a super tough one. I feel like if Dodgeball is matched up against someone, I don't have 8 pages. I have like 8 lines. Thanks, Pete. Dodgeball, I feel like if they went up against someone different, they would have moved on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, Borat moves on. Next up, I'm going to be really mad about this one. I realized I kept this banner on far too long about following us on Facebook.
Oh, well, is it because somebody's in one of these movies that you might want to talk about?
Oh, man, you're right. No, that's not why. But here it is. Wedding Crashers versus Hitch.
I think you were talking about Isla Fisher, that's Sacha Baron Cohen's wife.
Yes, that's who
I had forgotten about that. Right? So my pick is definitely Hitch. No, it's Wedding Crashers.
I was gonna.
Rachel McAdams is in Wedding Crashers, guys. But also it has Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn. Oh, so really the reason I choose it is Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson's banter. They are probably the funniest two guys together in movies. And they do a couple movies together, and I can't think of any of them outside of Wedding Crashers. But
The Internship was bad.
Yes.
So
I liked it. I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a great movie, but Wedding Crashers for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you know how they say we only use 10% of our brains?
I
think we only use 10% of our hearts. So I'm going with Wedding Crashers as well.
That was my pick also.
All right. Now Hitch. I have to admit, and if you're listening, I'm going to throw it out there. I saw Hitch on Valentine's Day with 3 other dudes. It was just me, 3 other dudes seeing Hitch. I can't remember. I know Kedron was there. but I don't remember who else. So I apologize to you if you were there. But me and Kedron saw
I
Hitch.
think you're apologizing. No, Hitch was good.
It was 4 single dudes watching Valentine's Day Hitch. But
that's all right. I mean, Hitch was a good movie. Yeah, no, I liked it. Eva Mendes, Kevin James.
Yeah.
You know, I think Kevin James kind of gets a bad rap into some, like, he's been in some corny movies. But I think he played that part really well in this movie, and kind of hit it on the head with the comedy piece. So a little bit of a hey, racism is still around. A little tidbit. So according to Will Smith, the female lead was actually supposed to be Caucasian, but the producers did not want to make the lead couple interracial as it was considered taboo. And they also didn't want a female lead to be black, as they feared it would alienate white audiences. So they decided to go with a Hispanic female lead.
Wow.
That's according to Will Smith and according to IMDb.
Hitch is out of here.
In there. Allegedly. Yeah.
Right. Wait, so they didn't want to offend white people, so they didn't cast a black person, but they also didn't cast a white person?
It's a compromise.
That is not a compromise. That's the worst.
Yeah, I read that on IMDb. Again, it's from IMDb. That's where I'm quoting it. Is it real? I don't know. Do they fact check that stuff? Who knows? But I read that and I was like, what the hell? I was like,
I agree with you.
That's messed up.
Most people kind of put Kevin James in a corner, I think, and there's a lot of Kevin James movies that I'm not a fan of. One that maybe we'll do 2010 comedies. He's in Here Comes the Boom, which is a really, really funny movie with Kevin James as the lead, where he joins the UFC-ish to make money, and I think he's a teacher. But it's based off of Boom by POD. So that's the lead song. But that's a good Kevin James movie. But Wedding Crashers is moving on here. Next up, we have Step Brothers versus The Sleeper, Waiting, with Ryan Reynolds. What do you guys think?
Step Brothers.
I'm going to lose saying Waiting. Or did I just make RJ uncomfortable?
I'm going to go with Waiting. So I am
what
a fan.
Alternate universe am I living in right now that we just picked Waiting? I watched the friggin' preview on. I was like, I think I've seen this, and then I watched it, and I was like, this looks not that funny. And no, it doesn't age well whatsoever. Just from the little trailer that I saw, like Ryan Reynolds was trying to score with like a bunch of underage girls. Like was like the very first thing.
That's his character. He plays a douche.
I don't want to see that crap. No one wants to see that crap. I want to see some dude putting his undercarriage on someone's drums and then saying he didn't do it, and then they get into a fight.
Well, in Waiting, they put it on chicken cutlets.
I mean, Justin Long is in this, Ryan Reynolds, Anna Faris, Louis Guzman. Louis Guzman is a hilarious dude. He was in a serious show that I like called Code Black, I think it was. It was a doctor show, and he played the nurse, a nurse on that show, and he's hilarious. Dane Cook, it was his thing. That was when Dane Cook was well liked, I think. Mm-hmm. Dane Cook went downhill real quick after. But Andy Milonakis also, if you remember, he kind of
peas on my head, but don't call me a pea head.
Waiting is a sleeper for sure. Step Brothers is my least favorite Will Ferrell movie, so that's why I chose it.
It has its funny moments.
It's called the entire movie.
No, I can't. Yeah, but I can't say it's not the entire movie though. It's not the entire. To me, it's not the entire movie.
The dude has a katana signed by Randy Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
The whole scene where they make bunk beds.
Yeah, they have room for so many activities.
Oh my!
And the meatloaf part.
Brennan, why are you so sweaty? I was watching Cops. You have the voice of an angel. Your voice is like a combination of Fergie and Jesus. We just voted out.
Your 10 pages of notes is just quotes from every movie that there is here.
This is horse crap. I can't believe we're voting out Step Brothers in round one for a turd fest like Waiting. I never even saw the movie, and I know enough.
You never saw the movie, so you don't know how good it is.
I probably did.
Good.
I looked at it, and I was like,
It's on Netflix, by the way. It just joined Netflix.
I've got a copy. You can borrow it. I got a copy.
Yeah, you're on the garbage.
All right. Well, moving on, we've got Austin Powers in Goldmember and Road Trip.
I don't give a crap anymore.
You guys voted out Mean Girls, so I don't even want to hear it.
Going with Road Trip. Road
Trip as well.
Really?
Yeah, I actually hate the Austin Powers movies, and
my gosh.
I haven't liked Michael Myers since Wayne's World 1 and 2.
Austin Powers in Goldmember is Mike Myers' favorite Austin Powers movie.
I don't care what Austin. I don't care what he says. I don't.
It's so good. So good.
So you're choosing Austin Powers because Austin Powers told you it was his favorite.
No,
movie.
because it's hilarious.
Isn't that weird?
The whole like fake Austin Powers movie before the movie was funny.
That was
yeah. And, like Tom Cruise was in it. Like they had all these famous actions. Danny DeVito was in it with an M249 machine gun. Like it was just absolutely ridiculous. And then you had Beyonce as Foxy Shazam. It's just so good. There's time traveling. It's such a good movie.
I like Goldmember a lot. I'm a huge sucker for the Austin Powers movies, and it's probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite of the three. Also,
Will Ferrell's only in it for like 2 minutes, so that's probably why I like him in this movie.
I like the dad. He says there are only two things I can't stand in this world: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch. I thought that was so funny. Like he's saying how he can't stand that, and then he's intolerant of another culture. Like the dude's eating his own skin. Ooh, that's a keeper. The key.
All right. Well, at cannibalism, we move to Shaun of the Dead versus Meet the Parents. This one's going to make Andy mad because I can tell you I'm choosing Shaun of the Dead for sure.
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead for me also. But we already know that Andy doesn't like zombie movies.
Listen.
I am listening.
RJ made me watch Shaun of the Dead. And at the end of it, I was like...
It was no Hamilton.
I was waiting for the funny part of the movie.
It's the same as Zombieland. If you don't like zombie movies, you're not going to think this is funny.
I liked Zombieland.
You got a little red on you. It's a great movie, Shaun of the Dead. I don't like Ben Stiller. So Meet the Parents is one of those movies it's good. It's not a bad movie. I just don't like Ben Stiller. So.
The whole... I have nipples, Jack. Can you milk me? Mr. Jinxie. Hey, Mr. Jinxie. Come on. Jeez.
I just want to watch the
entire
episode is Andy just quoting the movies.
That's literally what most of my notes are.
Just edit everything out.
I didn't even put that down in my notes because it's up here, because I've seen it 1,000 times, because it is such a great movie.
Well, say goodbye.
And
Shaun of the Dead is moving on.
Most of the film had to be recorded after because they didn't know how to say the last name Fokker. They weren't sure how to enunciate that. How they would get away with it, basically. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Next up is Joe Dirt versus The Hangover.
I feel like I'm just gonna start saying the movies that I don't want to win.
I'm gonna lose this one for sure.
Hangover for me.
I don't like The Hangover,
guys. This is a podcast
at all. I think I expressed my discontent for this movie in the group chat.
I'm not a huge fan of The Hangover either, but I hate Joe Dirt worse.
Joe Dirt's so funny though.
I can't do it.
Triggered. I love Joe Dirt, but I'm going with The Hangover.
Oh, okay.
And I actually had to talk to Tina about this. I was like, I feel bad. I have to kick out Joe Dirt in the first round because it's hugely underrated. Even though Roger Ebert, it's on his most hated list.
That was the only note I had for this movie.
He didn't have anything scathing like Freddy Got Fingered, but Dennis Miller as of 2008, hadn't seen the movie yet.
He only saw like a rough cut, right?
Yeah, he basically said, someone told me there's a scene where fecal matter falls from an airplane and hits someone on the head, and this may not be his type of movie to watch. So I got the poo on my skin. Oh man, Kid Rock is in this movie too. Yeah. Kid Rock is pretty funny. Brittany Daniel, who RJ, I know you wanted Club Dread in there, which I think is a good movie as well. But
Jamie Presley's in this as well.
I don't think that I knew she was in that movie. But
Kevin Nealon's in it. He runs the car shop too.
Christopher Walken is in this.
So originally, the parents of Joe Dirt were supposed to be Gary Busey and Roseanne Barr, but for some reason, I guess unknown, Roseanne just didn't show up. So they ended up going to. Yeah. Oh man, there's Dennis Miller. Like the entire movie is just making fun of Joe Dirt the entire time. So I'll hit you with another quote. He goes, "Now you're telling me you were so ingrained with white trash DNA, your facial hair actually grows in all its own, all white trashy like that." That's why I didn't shave today, because mine does the same thing. It just kind of like goes here. There's a patch. There's a little patch here, a little patch here. Yeah.
So with all that being said, The Hangover has moved.
Hangover. Yeah, I'm going with Hangover.
And our last one in the top 32, we got Hot Fuzz versus Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. I'm going with Hot Fuzz. I love everything that those two guys do with Shaun of the Dead and now Hot Fuzz. So I'm voting for Hot Fuzz. And by the way, that's Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg.
Hey, I see the way you look at him. I'm a man too, you know. I go pee-pee standing up. That is a quote from Kung Pao that I am picking. I don't remember what. Again, Hot Fuzz is probably another movie you made me watch.
It is, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's British comedy. Maybe that's me being biased.
It's smart comedy. You're not a fan of smart comedy.
Well, look, I shouldn't say that, because my grandfather grew up and he would always watch Benny Hill, and I thought Benny Hill was pretty funny. So,
that's more slapstick, though.
All right, Mike, what do you got to do here? You're the deciding factor.
This was my toughest choice because I do absolutely love these. You can ask my wife, or I'm sure she'll comment here.
My wife.
I was showing her highlights of Kung Pao, and I was absolutely, like, I was crying. I was laughing so hard because it's so good. But I love Hot Fuzz. So my pick is Hot Fuzz.
Man, I gotta make my way back down.
Did I fool you?
You did. You fooled me.
So RJ, you've never seen Kung Pao, have you?
I have seen pieces of it, but no, I do not enjoy. It did not look good to me.
The best part about Kung Pao is that it's the
ending when it's over.
No. It's an old kung fu movie where most of the clips are taken from a movie called Savage Killers, and Steve Odekirk just edited himself into the movie and then redubbed. He did every voice in the movie except for one character.
Dude, there's a part where there's like an old kung fu master and he's talking, and they put this like fly, so you see this fly going around. He's like, and it lands in his mouth, and there's a part where he's like, that's coughing. And there's another. Right. There's a whole scene where he fights a cow, like kung fu style.
Yeah, with the Matrix, with the milk shooting at him, and then he bites the teats.
The voices that he made for these guys are ridiculous. There's a whole guy where the entire movie he's got squeaky shoes. I'm like, oh, here goes the squeaky shoes again. And then, oh well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, when I go, oh well, it's so random in the movie. Like, they just show water and a whale just comes out and the lady screams a whale. It made no sense whatsoever. And I remember seeing it. Like,
even just the beginning during the opening credits where he punches through the guy and the guy's like guts come out and he's like, oh, that's like his body plug, and like, how's that even possible? Like, his guts are all up in there.
Well, we are now
So
in the
dumb.
top 16, guys. We've made it.
Where we voted out Step
Um,
Brothers.
We voted out Step
Yeah,
Brothers. Before we get into the top 16, just a reminder, this Friday, we are actually releasing a remix of Death and Life. It's the Funky Panda remix. But yeah, enjoy it. It's coming out Friday. And for you guys, that was a month ago. So I hope you enjoyed it if you're listening later.
And I named it Funky Panda on accident. I actually wanted to name it Funky Koala. And
So much better.
because the app that I use to create some of these things is called Koala.
Okay.
And I just slipped up in my old man brain and put Panda. And I was like,
Yeah,
I kind of like Panda better.
those are different animals.
Yeah,
guys, do you know what time it is?
Hammer time?
Time for
One
the
more
top
minute
16.
until the end of the night.
One more minute till the end of the night. But how could we end when it feels so right?
God, that's
Yeah,
so
there it is.
That's so February 2020, RJ.
That's true. It blew up on BandLab recently.
I blew up by 60 views.
Excuse me. We usually get 20, so this is a huge deal. Let's just let it go. We're actually doing really well in the music. We hope you enjoy it. But again, we have a remix coming out this week because I am not creative this month. So I let Andy remix one of our songs, and he did a great job with it. I might enjoy it a little more than the original, minus the really hip chorus missing. But it's really good. So check it out. For you guys, you've probably been checking it out for a month if you're listening on Spotify.
For a month already.
You know,
check it out.
It's got a lot. It's 100% fresh apples from Udemy and Hello. Wait, is it fresh apples or do we say something else? Fresh.
I think fresh apples. Yeah.
Fresh pears from Udemy.
No, it's fresh apples. I like fresh
apples. All right, whatever. All right.